Hey everyone, my name is Rose. Welcome to my sewing channel. So today I'm really excited about this. I've been meaning to make a Luna skirt. This is my sewing pattern, the Luna skirt. I'll leave a link below for the Etsy shop. So I've been meaning to make this Luna skirt. So as I'm sewing or working in my home office, I'm kind of looking directly at all of my fabric that I need to use. And this one keeps staring back at me. I keep looking at this and I'm like, this would be the perfect skirt. This would be the perfect Luna skirt. So it's just been a matter of time. I've also found this really cute skirt on Pinterest. I'll share a photo. And I thought we could do like a little combination of the two. So following the base pattern of the Luna skirt, but then also adding the ruffles. As you know, like I really love ruffles. I think this is such a cute detail. And I'm really excited to make this. So I have my fabric ready. I have my pattern ready. I just ironed it out so it's nice and unwrinkled. And if you ever have an issue with your pattern being too crumpled, all you have to do is set up your iron, shut off the steam, and you can kind of hard press your patterns flat. As long as you just make sure to obviously avoid all the tape. You don't want to be ironing over that. That's going to stick to the back of your iron. So everything is prepared. I'm just going to lay out all my pieces and begin cutting into my fabric. So I have my pattern laid out, my flat pattern. There's a couple issues that we're working against with this actual fabric itself. So the fabric was something I had purchased from the secondhand store. I thought it was a really nice amount of fabric, kind of just to play around with. So that's why we're here today. There are two holes in the fabric that we're kind of working against. I was able to position the flat pattern itself over the fabric, avoiding all of these kind of areas. There is like a little bit of overdraft, like the skirt width at the bottom hem is wider than the fabric itself. This fabric is quite narrow. It's like 37, I think, which is something I've never worked with before, actually. So what we're gonna have to do instead is we're gonna have to narrow the hem width, which this is okay. So the skirt will fall a little bit closer to your body or my body. And then the remaining fabric is what we're gonna have to work with to create these ruffles. So it's plenty enough fabric. So let's get to it. So then let's get this fabric cut out so we can begin sewing. So all the main pattern pieces are now cut out. I'm gonna save the scraps, the ruffles for later. The most important part is getting all the pieces together. So what I'm going to do first is, this is the back skirt. So this is right the front side where you can see the pattern a little more so. I'm gonna go in and add a stay stitch just so that when we're sewing this later down the road, that nothing overstretches here. So I'm gonna go along and do that for all the top pieces. So this is my right and left side, and then I also have one that's in the center. So then like here would be your leg slit, and then your leg slit on the side, and then this would be your side seam. So I'm gonna go in, add the stay stitch to all of the waistband seams, and then we'll meet back up. So the next step that we're going to do is, this is the slit at the quarter piece. So like right at your hip. So this is where this lays. I'm gonna turn this back, do a little baby hem. So just one time, and then run the machine all the way down. So just a nice little clean finish for the slit on one side, and then I'm gonna apply the same finish to the left side. So we're now finishing the seams. So now we're kind of determining how much you want the slit to come up to your leg. I think for the other one, I kind of had it coming up quite high, and I kind of like that length. So I'm just placing it where I want it to hit on my leg. This skirt comes all the way up to your high waist or your natural waist, so which is about the placement of my jeans. So you're going to pick the spot on the body, come all the way up to your natural waist. So my measurement is about, I'm gonna say 13. So you can always go in and make this longer or shorter or higher if you'd like. And now we're going to apply this measurement onto our skirt. I'm just measuring down from the waist to that point where I want the slit to start, and then I'm pinning both sides together. After marking the placement you want your slit to stop, going to go all the way up from the waist all the way down to that pin mark with your sewing machine on a straight stitch. After the slit is closed to that point, we're just pressing back the seam allowance here. After we're pressed, we're also going to run this on the sewing machine right close to the edge, so this creates a nice clean finish. So here I am, I'm just reducing some of the seam allowance here before I'm sewing this down. This just helps the garment to lay a little bit more flat, and it adds a more professional finish. Once this is complete, we're just taking it off to the sewing machine, rolling that seam closed like so, and then stitching very close to the edge. Okay, so my slit is done. So she's ready. I also have one, so the pattern comes with a slit also on the other side. I totally forgot. I always do this with this pattern. So this is an option. I'm just gonna close it. I always like just to have one, but I added two because I thought that would be cute as well. So when you're making the pattern, it would be 3 pattern pieces if you decide to shut this, but you can also just follow it just as it is. I hope that makes sense. I'm gonna just shut this seam with actually just a French seam, just because it's like very neat and minimal. And then we're going to add the back to the side. So I'm gonna add it the opposite side of this slit, just so that it's balanced a bit. That's just how I like it. And let's get to with sewing this seam together. I'm just using a French seam, so that's putting the wrong sides together first, trimming down the seam allowance, and then encasing that in a 1/4 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch stitch. I already have my front done, so I closed that other slit with the French seam. French seam is pressed out towards the side seams, and now I want to connect this whole slit side with the back of the skirt. So connecting it all the way down, I'm gonna have the zipper on the closed side. So I'm gonna go ahead and now add the back to the front with a French seam as well. Okay, so our seams are now finished. It's time to add in the zipper. So I found this bag at the secondhand store. I always gravitate towards this stuff. This was $3.50. There's so many buttons, so many zippers. Obviously this is not identical match to the fabric, but I'm gonna make it work. I'm sewing a lap zipper, so that kind of just means that it's completely hidden. So usually you can butt the fabric up like this and then see the zipper in the center, or you can have one side kind of covering the zipper, which I really love. I use this technique in the skirt in general for the sewing pattern, and it works really well. So we're gonna sew that in, and then after that we're just having to do the top, the hem, and then we're adding the ruffle. So this skirt's quite quick. It's a really nice sewing pattern. I made this already a bunch of times, so it's kind of my wardrobe staple. And okay, let's get on with it. So zipper. So first, I'm gonna do a little cleanup actually, because you know, fabric and thread on the floor. But also I need to put my patterns away. I'm gonna link this below. So I really love this. I have it labeled here. I think it's probably reversed for you, but you can label your project, add your measurements here so you can keep track of the size you cut, or if you're making this for someone, you can put their name and measurements on this little thing. You can keep track of your supplies, how much everything is costing, any pattern details, the fabric that you've sewn your make in. So this is something I especially love about this, because for me, for example, for this skirt in general, this is probably like the 5th skirt that I've made. So I can always go in, write pattern details about this skirt, and then keep a record of like my comments. Like if the waist was too big, then I say like, for the next one, make sure to adjust the waist such and such, example, blah, blah, blah. This is super great. There's also like a little fitting, so you can circle which fitting or which trial you are on. So all in all, really nice. I'm gonna fold my sewing patterns up, put it back in here, do a quick little sweep, and then we're gonna sew the zipper. I also had to go in and do like that little baby hem on the zipper side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to close the side. So I marked a pin. So I have a pin where the zipper is going to end, and I'm going to sew from that pin mark all the way down to the hem. So just closing from that pin mark down to the hem. So after that is done, we're going to begin to sew in this zipper. Our next step for this is pressing back the seam allowance. So one side is 5/8 folded, the other is 1/2. Side where the 5/8 is folded back is going to be the part that's going to be hiding the complete zipper. So I'm going in and pinning the zipper, the 1/2 inch folded back or the 3/8 folded back with pins. Our next step is going to be switching to the zipper foot on our sewing machine and sewing this at 1/8, so close to that zipper teeth. Our next step is going to take the other side, so the side that has the 5/8 pressed back seam allowance, and slightly cover that zipper. So you're kind of matching it up with that new line of your sewing, and you're going to pin all the way down. So sometimes I've also seen people use like a temporary taping here to mark your placement, but this always works for me. So I'm just using my pins going all the way down, making sure everything is caught, and then you're going to start from the waist, go all the way down, and then kind of just make that little cross at the end of the zipper. At the end where you see where we're meeting the end of the zipper, you just want to lift the foot up so you can shift the top of the zipper up a little further, and then you're going to go all the way down. Keep your needle in the skirt as you pivot, and then you're just going to sew right to the seam. Next step is sewing the bias to the waistband here. So with right sides together, I'm just going all along the waistband here. Okay, so this is her. She's on the dress form. So this is the waistband. It's going to be tucked underneath like so, and then I always hand stitch that down, but I'm gonna let this kind of drop for a minute, let the hem settle, And then we're going to already jump into the ruffles, which I'm really excited about. So I'm keeping it on the dress form so that when we put the ruffles on, it's easy to kind of determine where we need to be and then kind of also avoid the zipper at the same time. So, whee! So thankfully we had quite a bit of fabric to work with for the ruffles. I'm just laying everything out on the template I've already made for a previous pattern that you'll see coming up soon. So this creates nice little ruffles like so, and I'm just trying to maximize whatever I have here. So I just wanted to throw this on really quick just to double check everything was fitting properly. So the waistband turned underneath, honestly, it's fitting super well. So you have the little slit. It's a little bit lower than, or it's longer than my original one, which is kind of nice. But you know, maybe I might take it up a little bit. We'll see. So the next step that I want to focus on is adding the ruffles. So I kind of love, well, I like how the initial one was. So I'm gonna kind of follow that. Oh, but isn't that really cute? So I'm gonna throw it back on the dress form just so that I can kind of pin it, take a step back, and I'm not pinning like actually on myself, but you can always do this on the floor, or you can mark parts with chalk where you want the ruffle to hit. So let's get to adding the ruffle now. So I'm just using the inspiration image as my initial ruffle placement. I liked the placement of the one that was right on top. And I think with this ruffle construction, you get that really nice, fluffy ruffle technique. I'm also kind of just going up and down with the ruffles just to kind of match what initially was inspired. And then when it comes to the zipper, I'm trying to avoid that. Obviously, we can't sew through that or over that. After the placement is complete, I am just flipping the ruffles up so right sides are together and then sewing really close to the edge. So about 1/8 of an inch so that it is attached to the skirt body. Initially, I thought I would have to do all the hems of the ruffle by hand, but I realized that it was quite easy to flip it up on my sewing machine and do everything on the machine, which was so helpful. So all of the ruffles are on. So this is the front. This is the back. Overall, I really love how this came out. It does need a really nice steam. So I'm going to steam it, see how all the ruffles fall. I'm thinking it may also need a bit of a top stitch, just in some spots where the ruffle kind of sweeps up like so. You can kind of see the seam allowance on the back. So I'm gonna give it a good steam. That will help me determine if it needs a top stitch as well. Then I also need to still finish all of the ruffles that end like this, where it's just kind of like in the middle. See, it kind of just stops like that. That's also how the skirt was from the inspiration image. I'm gonna give it a nice seam. I have one additional ruffle still to use. So when I throw this on, I'm gonna see where it could kind of lie. I'm overall so happy that I was able to do all of this hemming by hand or by machine, because by hand it would have just taken me forever. It ended up coming out quite nice. So let's try it on and see the final touches. So this is my first try on, and I did have one additional ruffle that I wanted to add, so you can just see me checking the placement. And then here I am just going through the additional touches here. So I needed to still do the hem and the waistband and sew in that final ruffle. After all that was complete, I just gave it all a really nice steam. That is the most important
important part in your sewing process. It just makes everything look so professional. And here is the final reveal. Overall, I'm so happy I tried to do this. At first, I really didn't think I would have enough fabric for the ruffles, but everything worked out perfectly, and I think this is such a cute little staple for my wardrobe. Hope you guys give it a try and subscribe to see what I'm making next week. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you guys next week.